Hi, yes, hello everyone, I'm Gavin.js, and this project has taken a huge left turn. I thought initially that I was going to end up with a cool poster and a 3D model that I could use in future projects, but while I was making the 3D model, I ran into a feature in Blender that I find super fascinating and I think is incredibly underutilized. Boids. Boids are essentially a collection of particles that exhibit the same flocking behavior as birds or fish, and there are a lot of ways that you can tweak them to get different behaviors and animations. I won't talk at depth in this video about how Boids work and what you can do because there's just so much, in my opinion, as to what you can do with them, so I'll definitely be making a follow-up video where I'll go in depth and really figure out exactly what you can and can't do with Boids. Also, stick around to the end to see the full animation and see what I've been able to get out of combining the salmon with the Boyd simulation, and I'm really looking forward to making more animations like this in the future. But for this fish, this was really my first time making anything in Blender instead of Maya or Houdini, so I definitely had a bit of a learning curve, and I kept going back and forth trying to figure out the best way to do the UVs to match the Illustrator texture that I had made, which was definitely not optimized for the 3D model. I really love Illustrator, but I think going forward I'll be modeling my subjects first and then making the textures, which is, the standard workflow. But at the beginning of this project I hadn't intended to do anything in 3D, so live and learn, I guess. I also learned a lot about animating in Blender, and I didn't show any of that here because there was a lot of trial and error going back and forth trying to figure out the best way to get what I was trying to get with the salmon animation and trying to make it look like it's swimming. But initially I went with the sort of standard thing of rigging the whole thing up and animating each bone by hand, which probably would have given me the best results given enough effort, but like I said, I was trying to learn all of this and I wanted to try out all of the different options that Blender had in store. And so after kind of messing around with that and not quite getting what I wanted, I decided to try the wave modifier. This is a modifier that'll affect the geometry and add a wave displacement to all of the different points, which was pretty cool after working with it for a little while, but I still couldn't get quite what I was looking for, and it was very clear that it's mostly used for deforming geometry to make like anything that would conform to a more rigid wave, which isn't exactly what I was going for. So finally I tried the curve modifier, and it definitely has its ups and downs, especially given that I was not using it in the intended way, because normally when you're using the curve modifier, you're supposed to have your mesh follow along the curve and it'll warp and distort as it moves along the curve. But instead of doing that, I was using it to distort the geometry without moving along it, so it was a little difficult to get that to work, but I got it. I ended up parenting each control point on that curve to an empty and then using trig functions to move and rotate those controls, and I got something that looked pretty decent in the end, and I'm pretty happy with it, but I won't get into exactly what I did. I think I'll definitely be making a video on that in the future because I think it's a very fun and hacky way to get very controlled animations, but it's definitely not what that was intended to be used for, so I guess use that method at your own risk. At this point, I started playing with the Boyd simulation and the lighting, and I tried really hard to get a good look with the Cycles engine and some volumetric effects, but in the end I scrapped all of the lighting and composited everything in After Effects. I'd like to explore lighting and physics-based rendering in Blender more, but for this project I wanted to mimic the style I've been making lately in Illustrator, and it felt like the only way I was going to be able to do that was to use a toon shader or to just run with flat lighting and flat shading, which was already built into the texture anyway, so I probably could have been able to make a toon shader I would have been happy with, but I'm very picky when it comes to toon shaders, So I decided that the flat shading and just using my texture as is was pretty good. I did spend quite a bit of time tweaking the Boids simulation, and like I said, I'll make a whole different video on that. And the end result I'm pretty happy with. I got some nice flocks, swarms of fish, I guess is more appropriate, that moved in a very organic and interesting way, and I'm really happy with the end results. If you've made it this far into the video, thank you so much for coming along with me on this journey into a very unexpected side excursion, deep dive into the technical side of Blender. This was definitely not where I expected this project to take me. I thought it would be just a silly little poster that I'd make real quick, and jumping into Blender was very unexpected. But I'm really glad for it because I learned a lot, and I'm excited to share that with you all. And if you're interested in learning more, definitely do the YouTube things of subscribe, like, bell, all of that, because I'm definitely going to be doing a lot more Blender stuff in the future, and I'm going to be sharing my progress, learning as I go. And without any further ado, let's jump into the final result. Thanks again for sticking around to the end. I hope you enjoyed this just as much as I did. It was a real adventure, but that'll be all for now, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye.